How's everything going?
Everything's great. Can't complain.
Yeah, amazing, man. Have you made any new music?
I have, yeah. I released a song a couple months ago. It's called Way Too Jacked for the Gulag. And I've been working out more, getting healthier. And I tried to make an anthem for people who are like, when Trump lost, they're like, oh my God, they're going to come for us. We're going to the Gulag. I said, it's time to get way too jacked for the Gulag. So it's like a workout anthem to escape the communists.
How can people get it?
So it's everywhere. Spotify, YouTube. You just search "way too jacked for the gulag." Like
Uh,
you're way too jacked for the gulag. If they came to your studio and said, "Jesse, it's time to go to the gulag," you'd flex on them, and your whole staff would be prepared for that. So
oh yeah, they're going down if they come here. So, how do you see what's happening in America today? How do you see things?
definitely, I think my passion over the last year has been talking about the lockdown stuff because I think that was something that majorly changed our country. Obviously, you had the left, the Marxist type ideology that's been pushing into our culture. And then I think they went full human slavery where they just locked people in their houses. They didn't want to let gyms open, restaurants open, and they treated people like prisoners. So, I've been focused on that. And I think the future is being able to debunk that, or because they have all sorts of tricks with climate lockdowns, variants, to use that as an excuse to do what they've always wanted to do to people, which is, control them.
Yeah. What do you think of this so-called critical race theory?
Yeah, I think they just really hate white people. And I think they're exploiting Black activism to really push a political agenda that's way deeper than that. So I think at the core of it, people say critical race theory and they're pumping it into the schools. I think that they really understand that demographically, the white Christian base is the one who votes conservative and
Yeah.
votes for smaller government. So they act like it's this big thing. They really love Black people, but you see, they don't talk about 99% of, Black people who are dying too early. And then they're using it, I really think, to win elections. And you can find videos of them bragging about that. And then if you say it, they call you a racist, but I don't think it really has to do for love of Black people or really genuine hate, but more just like a thirst for power. And they understand, demographically and racially who doesn't vote for them.
Yeah. What happened to your hand?
I fractured it boxing. I hit someone's elbow and my thumb's fractured.
Oh, nice. Real men box. That's
Yeah.
cool. So,
Betas beware. Just can I get a beta real quick? Not to me, but just to the world.
beta.
I appreciate it. It's like a coffee in the morning. It wakes me up. Thank you.
That's right. So let me ask.
I think the pandemic really exposed that because when I started kind of going against it, it wasn't just liberals who got upset. It was a lot of conservatives who it's like they don't like to see somebody actually doing something. I say that the Republicans, they like to lose in slow motion wearing a cowboy hat. So it's like they become Democrats, but they just wear a cowboy hat and do it slightly slower. So it's surprising. And it's not just liberals. I think there's a lot of like fake tough guys who they'd rather just make excuses for why it's happening and play this game instead of taking a direct stance. And you've always done that. And, you just say what you think. And that's kind of a lost art.
Why? I mean, the Republican Party is no longer the Republican Party. It is the Democratic Party. I believe we only have a one-party system now. And the right-o Republicans and others, they are not standing for the people. They are not for the people. They are for themselves. I believe they agree with the Democrats, and that's why they don't stop them. And I just think that we don't have a two-party system. The right-os are worse or as bad as the Democrats. They're just pretending. Even when I see them on different talk shows now, pretending to be upset with the Democrat is all lies. I don't believe them.
I agree. I think it's an act. One thing that stood out to me was when Tim Scott did his counter speech, right? Tim Scott and the right said, "Oh my God, you're racist if you call him an uncle, you know what?" And that was the big narrative. And I listened to the speech, and the first thing I thought was during his speech, he said, Nancy Pelosi, they're trying to print trillions of dollars. When we did it, it was a bipartisan thing. So he was bragging about printing trillions of dollars in bipartisan fashion. And I'm like, that's not conservative at all. But people get caught in the whole left versus right narrative. I agree with you. The Republican Party is too weak, too left. And in 2020, they easily gave up the country. They easily locked down. They printed the money. They did all this crazy stuff. And that now we're supposed to believe they're going to fight the radical Marxists when they're becoming it. And just like you said, they put on a good act and a lot of people buy it.
Tim Scott is a writer. I mean, he's one of the worst, and I know, and I think he's up for election. I wish that we had a real, true conservative running against him, so that they can vote him out and put in somebody that's going to stand for America, stand for what is right, and not be afraid. And Tim Scott is a true writer, man. I just wish they could get him out of there, as they should with the other writers. We need to vote these folks out and vote in people that will stand. These rhinos, Republicans don't believe that that they can be voted out or will be voted out. That's why they continue to do what they're doing.
And I think a lot of people buy into the left versus right fight a lot, but you see with someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm not saying she's perfect, but she'll take a stance. And when she does, they condemn her. They say, oh my God, we got to take her out of this position. And it's like, she's not the problem. If anything, there needs to be more of her that go further, because, she's one person who doesn't just follow the norm sometimes. And instead of embracing that and saying, hey, that's refreshing, they say, how do we take her away from her role so everybody just pretends like they're doing something? So, yeah, I think, the pros and cons of Trump, the pros are a lot of people got inspired. There was more fight. And the cons, I feel like in the last year or two, people have kind of gotten lazy and, they're used to someone else doing something for them. And I don't think they're ready to admit that we made a lot of progress. I think we lost a lot in 2020, and there's a lot left to be desired in the Republican Party, a lot more to do.
Yeah, the rhinos are ridiculous, man. What's your impression of men today?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I think weaker by design. I think that I think men probably back in the day, they used to be stronger and tougher. And now, I think people are weaker. And definitely you see with the liberals to start there, where it's like, it's kind of their culture. They're like toxic masculinity, don't do this, don't do this. So they've just become doormats. And, I would say to any liberals who watch, because believe it or not, I think a lot watch you because you're like their father that yells at them that they don't want to hear, but secretly they do want to hear. Yeah. I've met somebody that was liberal and he's like, who I love to hate? He said, Jesse Lee, I can't stop watching him. I'm like, because he's like your father that's telling you no, and he's right, but you don't want to admit it. Yeah. It's like they're not making you weak to protect people. They're making you weak because a weak male population is easy to conquer and control. Yeah. And then even on the right, the lockdown really exposed it to me, because certain things, I didn't care if it was Trump, Biden, Abbott, whoever. And I'm like, this is wrong. And if you don't put your foot down, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Biden, they're going to keep doing it because you're weak. And people got so mad because it's like that, with Trump, for some people, he inspired them. For others, I think people were trying to be cowardly and hide behind him and think, oh, he's going to save all my problems. But it's like, no, he's supposed to lead, you, where it's like, you're also supposed to do something in your community. So I feel like even on both sides, people are so afraid to stand up. And tell me if you think this is good. I said it one time and it kind of stuck, where people are so afraid to do the right thing and they're comfortable doing the wrong thing. And that's spiraling our country, where it's like, they say to me, aren't you afraid of doing this? And I always say, I'm afraid when I do the wrong thing. And you guys keep trying to scare me when I'm doing the right thing. Like, why are you saying that? I'm like, you should be afraid for knowing that what you're doing is wrong. That's and right. Doing it out of comfortability. And when that happens, when people are more afraid to do the wrong thing than the right thing, this country could shift overnight. But even on the right, I think there's a lot of, fake tough guys and just like, oh my God, I wouldn't say that, but I know it's true. Well, then
you're absolutely right, man. Absolutely. When as you know, I grew up in Alabama on a plantation under the Jim Crow laws. I never, if a male or was a weak male, he was called a sissy. Men didn't put up with that. Women didn't put up with that. They would call it what it was. What it is, any man that has fear is weak. It's not normal for a man to have fear. Any man that has fear is a woman. He's a female, and he needs to overcome his mama. But and nowadays, I just never seen so many weak men of all colors, really, but of all races. I've never seen so many weak men in my whole born days. It's horrible. That there's an order to life of God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. And that order has reversed itself, been reversed, right? And now the woman is over the men, and the men act like little beta males, and they're getting involved with married women, older women, women with children. They're afraid to speak up. Women are beating them up in the public, at home, and everywhere else. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you see it on your page, but if you say something brutally honest that's raw, a lot of people don't come in the comments and say, oh my God, thank you so much. I start seeing, oh my God, fear for this man's life. This man's in trouble, where it's like, they're not only scared to tell the truth themselves, but they try to scare other people. Like that's become the status quo in the truther movement. Like, oh, this guy's going to die if he says that. And I'm like, this is such a weak mentality where it's like, you're going to die eventually. And if you're a coward your whole life, like, what are you going to accomplish? If Muhammad Ali was afraid of a brain aneurysm, he never would have boxed. If a football player is afraid of injury, like you can't do anything great in this world if you're afraid. So for some reason, not just on the left, but on the right, the status quo is like, I'm so comfortable doing what I know is wrong for money or stature or fame. And when you say the right thing, I'm going to try to scare you because I'm scared. I'm like, not only are you not going to scare me, but I want to let people know that that's, you know, like, oh, Hillary's going to come for you. Like, it's not just a joke. It's somewhat funny, but really what it is saying, I'm afraid. Yes. I'm afraid to say the truth. You should be afraid to say it. And I'm like, you guys got to stop this stuff because it's not that bad to say something, especially in America. In other countries, you know, they take you away instantly if you disagree with the government. We have the First Amendment. It's screwed up, but like if you don't appreciate it and use it, you're going to lose it all. So there is no reward for a coward. There is no like end, you know, thing that you're going to get like a prize. Like you're just going to screw yourself over, ruin your life. And eventually there, you know, you're going to run out of room to be afraid in.
I'd rather die standing in my booth than to live as a coward. It's a horrible way to live. I got to ask you about your tweet. My producer gave this to me. If Bush, first of all, I want to know, did you tweet it out? Because I didn't see it personally, right? It says that if Bush, Clinton, Obama, or Rubio did what Trump did in 2020, no conservative would give them a pass. What did you mean by that?
With the lockdown, with the 15 days to slow the spread, with the extension of the lockdown and the Operation Warp Speed vaccine program, I really think that, you know, in a way, obviously Trump was obviously incredible in so many ways, and you know that, but he almost provided this complacency where if George Bush were to say, hey, let's lock the country down, or Obama or Hillary or Rubio, no conservative would have fell for it. And I think with Trump, everybody loved him so much that people forgot to just stand in their own 2 feet and say, hey, I voted for you, but I don't agree with it. I know somebody, his name is Tony. He runs a place in Huntington Beach called Basilicos, and he didn't shut down for a single day. Not a single day, not a single hour. He stayed open. And one thing he said to me, although obviously he's very conservative, he said, I'm so tired of these Trump flags. I want to see an American flag being flown, because he's like, you know, people, instead of like doing their own thing, they just followed him. And all year during the lockdown, instead of doing it's not all about me, but I'm like, I don't care who's here. I don't agree with this. And here's why. People were making excuses for Trump. And I just know those same people, if it were Biden or Obama, they wouldn't have spent hours making excuses. They spent more time making excuses for lockdowns and warp speed vaccines than they did being a man in their own community and being like, you know, kids are being abused with these masks. And I don't agree with, you know, you ruining my local restaurant. So I find like conservatives started idolizing Trump almost like a god, where I clearly liked him a lot, but it got to this unhealthy point where questioning him was like questioning Christ, and people would rather make excuses for wicked things than like actually just say no. And I think that's where we lost the country, or, you know, and it's never been the same since then.
I remember when the Great White Hope, I call him the Great White Hope, right? And
I know. We are going to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C.
That's like a literal idol.
I remember when he first announced that he was running. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I said to the people back then, this man is amazing. He is what we need, but leave that little space there between you and the man, right? Because there will be some things that he's going to say and do that you won't agree with. And you should be able to disagree without turning on the man. But if you don't have that little space there, it would be difficult to disagree. Or if anyone else disagrees, you're going to get mad at them for disagreeing. So even though I love the president, the Great White Hope, Donald Trump, I always have a little space there because I know he's going to do something or say something that I don't agree with. And I'm able to speak up about it, but it doesn't change my support for him.
And I think that happened last year. And to me, it has become a religion where you're talking to somebody who really, really liked him. I keep hearing these theories like it's like he's secretly the president. He's going to come back. He's going to return. He's going to return. And I'm thinking Christ is going to return or Trump's going to return. Like they've replaced Christ with Trump. And I don't think it comes from a place of strength and loving Trump. I think these people are so afraid to actually do something themselves.
Yeah.
And they were just hiding behind Trump being like, he's going to save me. And the second that all of their theories didn't come true in 2020, it doesn't mean you have to hate them. It doesn't mean you have to throw them aside, but you're actually supposed to contribute. Trump can only do so much. And in your community, if every conservative man was a real man, the lockdowns would have ended after a couple of days, if even that. But because Trump was there putting on a show, I think so many people got so comfortable being like, I don't want to be strong. I don't want to stand out. I want to hide behind him and just push him forward. And the second he went a different direction than they wanted to go, instead of saying, like you said, I don't agree and I'm going to do my own thing, people went his way and then just started getting mad at me for being like, because I took a very hardline stance. I have all these videos about the testing, about, the whole thing, the PCR test. I have the book somewhere around here. Kerry Mullis invented the PCR test. He said that they were not made to be used how they're being used, and no one's talking about it. DeSantis, Trump, I don't hate them, but I have my own platform, my own mind. I don't just, so there's a lot of followers and I get that. But, I think you say it a lot too, where it's like, I say, if you're going to follow anyone, follow Christ. And if you put a man above him, you're going to, it's called idolatry. And I think that's kind of happened because Trump did so much for people. They've kind of, replaced Christ with him, and it's become a little, annoying. So that's what I meant by the tweet.
Cowards always putting someone else before them because they are afraid to stand up for themselves, and they're trying to get someone else to do it. What are your thoughts on 2024? I know it's far away, and I don't like to do that, but
no,
people want to know. Can you hold on for a minute?
Yeah.
Let me take a short break. I'm at the bottom of this hour. I'll come back and we'll finish up on this. Let me ask, have you ever considered running, because we need conservative, real, true conservative men in our government, in our police department, men who are not afraid. Have you ever considered running for anything?
Yeah, I think I might be interested like later in life, but I know in order to get people's votes, they control people's minds and they control the media. So I really didn't like what the media was doing. And I think that's like a root level thing. So I'm in the media, culture, even children's books. I'm more interested in poetry and stuff, doing stuff like that. So politics maybe later, but I would have to get a legal degree, like, and study law, because I know a lot of it is just legal jargon and stuff. I wouldn't just run a campaign and try to run. I would run to win. So maybe later, but I'm more interested in, I think, the media. If you can control what people are thinking, you can control what they buy, what they sell. And, I know you talk to the Black community a lot from your perspective, where it's like they've kind of, had a monopoly on the thought process, and that has then, gone downstream to what they vote for. So that's kind of my angle right now.
Amazing. I'm glad to have you on today, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Right now, do you see anyone in the conservative movement, even though it's not really strong, that can run for president that you would, as of today, tomorrow would take care of itself, but today, do you see anyone that you would vote for?
Yeah, I think I've learned my lesson.
As president.
I've learned my lesson to just go full in on anybody. So I'm very skeptical of a few people, but I think the clear front runner in the Republican Party is DeSantis at this point because of his stance against the medical stuff. So I think he seems like a strong leader. Me personally, I like Rand Paul and Thomas Massie better, but I don't know if they have what it takes to win. As much as I liked what Trump did, I really don't trust him anymore after the lockdown because, he did the 15 days to slow the spread. He said he was going to open, he extended it. And then the whole Operation Warp Speed vaccine program, it's not just that he did it, but he's making it such a priority. Like he's bragged about it in his emails 30 times now. And he doesn't seem to really care about kids who are being forced vaccinated at their schools. Like I get emails every day saying, An0maly, I can't go to school unless I get this. And, Trump's one of the reasons it's there. He seems to not even care. So I really don't trust him anymore. I think DeSantis is a front runner, but one thing with him that I'm a little skeptical on, although he's done a good job under the lockdown, is he passes these speech bills. And same with Trump. They pass these anti-Semitism bills for Israel. And I just don't agree with them from a First Amendment perspective. I think the First Amendment's pretty clear. And anytime, regardless of which race it is, if you put a hate speech law it just blurs the line of, what you can and can't say. And I'm a little suspicious of that. But besides that, I think, yeah, he's a front runner for his pro freedom, moves the last year.
Is the Great White Hope, is he in support of forced vaccination?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know that he said he's in support of forced vaccination, but it's very clear it's being forced on cruise lines. It's very clear it's being forced in schools.
Forced, yeah.
But he doesn't say, he's the leader. So it's like he said 20, 30, 40 times, I brought it, I rushed it, not Fauci, it's me. I brought it here. I'm the reason it's here. So it's here and it's being used against us. And he doesn't talk about it. So it's not that he says it, but his word doesn't really mean anything to me anymore. I mean, he said he would fight big tech. He didn't. Now he sends out an email. I shouldn't have brought Mark Zuckerberg to the White House. Perhaps I should have done something about it. Like, to me, I hate to be rude, but he just starts to seem like a circus clown to me. Like, he puts a carrot in front of your face and he's like, maybe I'm going to run. Maybe I'm going to do it. But it's like, you had 4 years and I watched some of my peers get deleted off of YouTube, people that helped you win the election. And the GOP sat on their hands for a while. And that's why, real quick, with the election, everyone's running in circles around that. But it's like it really was lost earlier than that with Facebook and Google. They hate the president. They don't want him to win. They have rigged their websites so hard for so long. And I feel like the GOP and Trump, they didn't care until it affected them, which is a flaw because, they're a product of who votes for them. Like Alex Jones, a lot of people might like him. A lot of people won't. His YouTube channel had 1 billion views. Trump went on his YouTube channel. So, someone like that helped him win the 2016 election. He got wiped out in 2018. That's when Republicans controlled the Senate and the House and the presidency, and they sat on their hands. So I think, that's the type of stuff where it's like he says he doesn't agree with it, but to me, his leadership, something changed last year, and someone told him that, the Operation Warp Speed is his #1 accomplishment. And to me, it's the worst thing he's ever done. So as a voter, as a citizen, his whole shtick right now doesn't appeal to me. I hope he goes back to 2016 Trump, because that was much more appetizing for me personally.
Amazing. How can people hear your show, man?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's Dream Rare. So you can find it on Instagram, DREAMRARE, Dream Rare, all one word. I have a YouTube channel as well, An0maly, and it's spelled An0maly. So the word anomaly, but the O is a 0, An0maly. That's it. I tweet too much. That's why you read my tweet. Some say they like my tweets. Some say I tweet too much, but I think I'm better on the video. So I would follow me on other things, because the text-based stuff, sometimes you're just popping off text. But yeah, I do live streams all the time on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Well, I have much respect for you for standing up and speaking what you believe, knowing that there will be people, especially on the Trump supporters, will be coming after you, but you have the love to express what you see is right. And that's what this country was built on. We must return to that.
Absolutely. And someone like you, Jesse, I would vote for you 1,000,000 times before I voted for any of these GOP people, even Trump, where he definitely did a lot. And I appreciate what he did for the culture, what he did to push these narratives at the forefront. But I think your type of mentality where you simply don't care, you don't get emotional about it, it's a lost art and it's sad. So I would vote for someone like you 1,000 times over every Republican, because they think pandering to the left is going to get them votes. But really what they need to do is just tell the truth. And that will translate into Spanish. You don't need to do a special little thing for the Hispanics. Like, just keep it real, keep it raw. I think that's why they like Trump, not for his little plans he did. It's just because he said what real people say. Absolutely. And that translates in every language.
Yep. Absolutely. I totally agree with that, man. I saw where this empty shell went over to Guatemala somewhere? Guatemala. You know that woman, Camilla Harris?
Yeah.
She went over to Guatemala, right? And people were over there protesting, telling her to go back home. We don't want you here. Trump won, you lost. And the media didn't show that. And I make that point because you're right. It doesn't matter what race, what color, male or female. If you tell the truth and not afraid to tell the truth, truckloads of people are going to be attracted to that. They want that.
Absolutely. And it's the same dynamics going on everywhere. I talk to people in Nigeria. There's different races, different religions, different demographics everywhere, but this same battle of good and evil, right and wrong, strong and weak, left and right, it's happening everywhere. People who are so beta that they're losing everything. So yeah, there's a huge population, billions of people that are desperate for somebody honest. And that's really what rose Trump to that ranks. And I think what really hurt him was the fact that he tried to play middle ground because it was a tough situation. And I really think like in 2016, he wasn't thinking like maybe they won't like that. I think he was thinking, I'm going to just say exactly what I've been thinking for a long time. And that's what you do. And I really think people underestimate how popular it is because people love that.
Yeah. I got to let you go, man. But one last thing about that. I think at some point, and I've heard this, I don't have any real proof, but at some point, Donald Trump started to listen to his daughter and her husband. And that's one of the reasons he made some bad decisions. Because the daughter seemed a little more liberal. She and her husband, Jared Kushner or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was possible?
I absolutely think that's possible. And I even heard Bill Gates had mentioned earlier that he kind of pitched this idea like before the COVID thing. If Trump did this universal flu vaccine, he'd get credit for it. And I don't want to overanalyze, but I do think Trump is one of these people who likes credit, and it hurt him when so many people turned against him because he was so popular his whole life. So I think that might have been the way to get to him. Like, you're going to be so popular. You're going to be Mr. Science. They'll love you. But this is a lesson for Trump or anyone else. The left really doesn't care. They're not operating in logic or reality. So you could pander to them all you want. I think about it like Lucy with the football from Charlie Brown. Republicans fall for it every time. They run to kick the football. Lucy pulls it. They fall on their butt, and then they keep doing the same thing over. So you can't pander to the left because they'll just lie. They'll act like, oh, well, if Trump doesn't lock down hundreds, they'll blame him for all the deaths. Well, he did do it, and they still blamed him because they'll never stop. So it's like you got to just tell the truth. You got to be strong. The left will never credit you for any sort of compromise. I don't think they care at this point.
Well, the President Trump did say that on Facebook, that the owner of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, kept going to the White House and telling him how great he was.
Exactly. And that's how I think that's how you get to him, like you're awesome. And he's like, you think so? Like, and then Zuckerberg just pulled the football out right before the election. And Trump, whoop, it's like the Charlie Brown episode.
Yeah, ended up banning Trump. Anyway, man, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon. And it was amazing talk. Thanks for coming on.
It was great to talk to you too. Thanks. Keep doing what you're doing, and God bless, Jesse.
You too, buddy. You matured amazingly. I had no idea how much you had matured.
Thank you.
Very nice.
I do what I can. I'm getting older, so hopefully I don't get dumber and weaker.
No, you're getting smarter and stronger, and that's the way to go.
It.
Thank you, buddy.
Jesse.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. Appreciate it. Amazing.